Good afternoon, Renegades. It's Renegade times again. Yes, welcome back to Rogue Radio. My name is Sarah Jane. It is cloudy and it is snowing here in Toledo, the wasteland of America. And let's just jump in the trenches. Let's go. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to leave a comment. Like, share, subscribe, whatever you do. Do what listeners do. Feel free to contact me, leave me a message. Even if it's a hate message, it's cool. It's cool. How are you? So let's just get right into the politics. It's 19 pages, this whole episode, just letting you know. I typed it up at work, so hopefully my boss is not mad at me for using the ink. But listen, it's for a good cause to inform the world, including Nigeria. Thank you, Nigeria, for listening. It has been a crazy beginning of 2024 already. For me, it's like there's just news left and right, and now I have to talk about it. I don't think I included Cat Williams in here. I'm really sorry. There is a reason though, so as we go ahead and, get through all of the stories, you'll understand why I decided to take Cat Williams out of here, out of this episode, and put in this other one. So, let's just get into it, I guess. The Butcher of Tehran is in New York. Rogue Radio had to talk about that, so let's just get into that. Ibrahim Raisi has been in the United States, and Biden has allowed it all. He has been given a visa and even held a speech. The thing is that he is getting a warm welcome by the United States, and I'm sure that the terrorist sympathizing Gen Z have rolled in the red carpet. Alright? That's beside the point. Let's jump right into the trench and clear it all out, because I know I'm not the only one pissed about this. Raisi, nicknamed the Butcher of Tehran, delivered a speech at the United Nations Turtle Bay after attending a private invitation-only meeting with high-profile influencers at the Millennium Hotel in Manhattan. And that wasn't the only invitation he had been given, apparently. There have been many invitations given to this murderous man. I mean, never mind the fact that he killed thousands of his own people and that he approves of hostage-taking of Americans and dual nationals. That his regime continues to plot terror attacks against the United States and assassinations of former U.S. officials. And that he hates the United States and our entire way of life. Yep, pretty much sums it up. That sounds like a pretty awesome person to invite to the United States to hold a speech, right? I mean, I guess he's hoping that the U.S. can forget all of his misdeeds. And honestly, who can blame him when we have Gen Z feeling sorry for Bin Laden? Just throw that in there. Recently, the Biden administration granted Iran access to over $6 billion in oil revenue in exchange for the release of 5 Americans wrongfully imprisoned in Iran, and the White House claims the funds will be used for the humanitarian purposes, but of course, that was never going to happen. In a recent interview, Raisi clarified that humanitarian means whatever the Iranian people need, and the needs of the Iranian people will be decided and determined by the Iranian government. In other words, it should be no surprise when he uses the funds to supply Iran proxies with drones and missiles and target our allies and partners instead of food and medicine. So we basically funded a terrorist who hates America, kills his own people, and now he has access to American soil. Make it make sense. When I started reading this on the Hill, I really didn't understand why the hell the government would do this, but why do I keep thinking that I should for some reason, like in the back of my head, like I must be brainwashed to think that the government is supposed to be able to take care of us, but what the no, of course not, of course not. So when I started reading this, I was like, why? I mean, how stupid can you get? Make it make sense. Anyway, the sanctioned president of Iran is flying in a sanctioned aircraft on a Biden-approved visa to enter the U.S., where he is actively plotting terror attacks on U.S. citizens. So why on earth would the Biden administration want to give a visa to a man like this? There are plenty of Iranian Americans that are now feeling the sting of trauma just from him being here, and that, in my opinion, is deeply disrespectful for those who have lost loved ones and that have been tormented by this man alone. This doesn't set a very good example for the American people because, as we all know, America is full of very mentally disturbed people, and they will think that they can get away with murder and not have any accountability for it because Biden decided to set an example and say, hey, this guy is pretty cool. What makes you think that maniacs here in America, okay, there's maniacs everywhere. What makes you think that they're not going to think that this man is a role model? I mean, what the fuck? I told myself I wasn't going to cuss in 2024. Oops. Biden has the power as president to deny a visa to anyone deemed a threat to American people, and he chooses this fool to be here. I will say it one more time for the ones asleep in the back. The government is run by idiots who are no smarter than you, who do not care about the well-being of us. Alright? Just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. And I mean, didn't Cat Williams say that there are missiles everywhere in the hands of people that don't know how to take care of it from being triggered and blown up? I mean, still, I mean, make it make sense. It's dumb. It's very dumb. But anyway, U.S. House and Senate Republicans recently introduced legislation and the strengthening entry visa enforcement and restrictions, or the SEVER Act, that would have banned Racy from entering our country. As the bill's sponsors wrote an op-ed last year, the legislation would have also prohibited a future president from using the loopholes the Biden administration did. I am appalled that the butcher has been welcomed in this way, and I wish the American people could wake up and learn to protest against what is wrong instead of sympathizing with it. So, the next one is about Dijon, France, covered in shit. I love this. I love the fact that, for some reason, I just don't know why, lately, like, the French have been able to protest in the most badass ways, and all I have to say is, for one, I'm sorry that you have to go through that in order to make your voice heard. Nobody should have to go to great lengths in order to protest like this, because the government should take consideration of your way of life and everything like that. But when you get pissed, y'all get pissed, and I am Listen, y'all are renegades for sure. You were renegades before Rogue Radio decided to become Rogue Radio. This is great. I mean, it's great, but it's not great. You know what I mean? I really sympathize with you guys here because it's not something that anybody should have to resort to. But the fact that you guys do and you demand to make your voice heard in this way is incredible. So, in Dijon, France, over 80 tractors took to the streets and started to dump manure onto government buildings in protest of protest. I don't have a period there when I typed it, so I'm like, okay, keep going. The farmers have been protesting increased diesel prices, higher taxes, climate policies, and agricultural policies. Those leading the protests are the National Federation of Agriculture Holders Unions, or the FNSEA, and the Young Farmers, or Jeunes Agricultures, or the JA. Alright. Headed by Arnaud Rousseau and Arnaud Gallio, farmers have been protesting the government since November, and farmers in the southern Tarn departments in France began turning road signs upside down. This protest would then spread all over the country. In Quimper, France, protesters would also spray government buildings with manure. As though life for a farmer in France it's a tough life for a farmer in France since they barely afford fuel costs to run their equipment, to sell their goods, and they want the French government to clarify what the policies are for agriculture, because they are told one thing and then another the next day, and they are tired of it. I'd personally be annoyed if I was told two different things all of the time, and then have to pay out of pocket to pay fuel to harvest my crops at the right time before my goods go bad. Farmers are losing money from this, and rightfully so. Rightfully so, they should protest. Their way of life means of income are being threatened, and I, for one, certainly understand why they are so angry. And when you hurt the people that help the government stand, you should expect the people to push back and knock off the foundation they made for you. But yeah, my prayers go out to France. You guys have been going through it. It's not just the whole protest with the farmers. It's also the fact that there's a bedbug outbreak in France. There is also, I know the new president had raised the age of retirement, which really made the French people very, very angry. So you guys are going through it, and Rogue Radio sees you. Next up is Harvey, Illinois. Residents in an apartment building in South Suburban Harvey made a plea for answers on Sunday following the allegations multiple units were boarded up, trapping residents inside. So, I mean, like I say, make it make sense, because these crews actually just refused to listen to people's pleas when they were boarded up inside, and I just hate that for them. I hate that these residents had to go through this. But Genevieve Tyler, who resides at the building near 145th and South Halsted, said she heard workers outside on Friday and quickly realized that they were nailing pieces of wood to the windows and doors. Tyler, along with multiple people and other residents, said that she received no notice. "I'm very upset," she said. I've never gone through this in my life. I've never seen anything like this in my life. Never. Several people posted videos of social media claiming residents were trapped inside boarded up apartments and demanded help. My nephew called me and said, "You're boarded up here?" I said, "What?" I opened the door, and that's when I saw that there was a board right there. I looked at the window, same thing. Resident Rudolph Williams explained. At least 4 people were trapped inside their apartments and could not get out. A mother of 2 had to push her kids out the back window of her apartment, and her son was injured in the process of getting him out safely. Another tenant received a blank court order from blank order form telling her to vacate in October, but the remainder of the tenants did not get any notices. Rudolph's nephew spoke to the construction crews that were still there were still people living in some of the units, and the worker just looked at him and walked straight past him. Like, the heartlessness, because these are mainly like elderly people, or I know that there's maybe a handful of elderly people from the videos that I saw. There were 2 of them that were boarded up inside, that were, just traumatized. Like, what the heck? I mean, the heartlessness that you have to have in order to just not care about someone. You know what I mean? And for workers, I mean, they may claim like, "Oh, I didn't hear anybody. This, place was supposed to be vacated." You can't expect certain people to go by the rules, because sometimes people don't know where to go after that. Like they said, they had no notices. So it would be the responsible thing to do for a construction worker who's been boarding up the house to make sure that there's nobody there, make sure there's no belongings, gut the house, alright? Make sure that there are no people around. There's no people living in the residences, and if there are, ask if they had a notice, and then contact the damn landlord. But people just keep surprising me. Like, common sense is not sensible anymore. It's not the right thing to do anymore. But the city of Harvey reported it has experienced issues recording unsafe conditions at 2 buildings, 14445 and 14437 Halsted, since last fall. In the statement, city officials explained the building's owners were told that the evacuations were mandatory by October 28th. The thing is that nobody got a notice. Then in mid-December, the city's building department determined both buildings posed an imminent safety risk due to extensive deterioration of balconies and stair risers. The horrible part is that the property owners didn't warn the tenants properly, and that they were all taken by traumatic surprise by being trapped in their own homes. A City of Harvey spokesperson said the city did not evict anyone nor participate in the board-ups. The negligence of the property owners should be addressed in the situation, for some of the tenants living there have nowhere to go and cannot afford to go anywhere else. Some have Section 8 vouchers and paid their rent on time, and there should have been no real reason to evict them without notice. The city has contacted the property owners, but only got voicemail. Go figure. No one cares. No statement from the owners have been made yet at this time. Okay, so this next one, this is, the section where I just kind of put in stuff that I usually find interesting. But in this case, for this first little recording in this second part of the podcast, I just want to be very reverent and very respectful as much as I can in this area, because I really wanted to talk about Gypsy Rose and how she became famous after she got let out of prison and all of that stuff. But I did tune into Candace Owens's podcast talking about Gypsy Rose, and she kind of brought up something that was very interesting to me, and so I had to go ahead and investigate it for myself. I believe that Gypsy Rose coming out of prison is a distraction for what happened in Iowa on January 4th. So, instead of giving Gypsy Rose any type of clout or recognition, which I don't give anybody who murders anyone, regardless, any type of recognition. Okay? But I want to talk about what happened in Iowa, because there's not a lot of people talking about this. There's not a lot of people that are covering this in the news. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about this, because it's something that, I believe that when it comes to teens going through things and high schools going through things, it really breaks my heart. It's always been a thing with me. Like, I love children. I love that, they are innocent and pure and loving and all of that. And when I see children being hurt, even if they're high school students, it breaks my heart, okay? So my responsibility is to speak about the children that suffered in this Iowa Perry High School shooting, instead of giving Gypsy Rose any type of content at the moment. So, on January 4th, a deadly shooting at Perry High School. Students across Iowa are starting to walk out of class to protest what they say is lawmakers' inaction for gun violence. So when it comes to the political side of this school shooting, I'm just going to read the article. I'm just going to read what I typed down. I really don't want to get into the politics of the school shooting, because right now the wound is fresh. People are still suffering. People have still lost their loved ones, and I don't want to be the asshole that talks about politics and standing on the kids' graves saying that, something political instead of something heartfelt. I just can't do that. Des Moines metro area students are slated to hold a rally at 1 p.m. at the Capitol, despite an incoming winter storm. This happened, I had gotten this maybe like a few days earlier or later after this article came out, so that vigil has probably already passed. But at the Capitol incoming winter storm, the protest coincides with the first day of the 2024 Iowa legislative session. Dylan Butler, a 17-year-old Perry student, fatally shot Amir Yolif. If I mispronounced this person's name, I am very sorry. An 11-year-old sixth grader, and wounded 7 other people, including Principal Dan Marburger on the first day of school after winter break, killing a sixth grader, and wounding 5 other students barricaded in class or in offices and fled in panic. Perry High School senior Ava Augustus said that she was in the counselor's office waiting for her counselor to arrive when she heard 3 shots. She and other people barricaded the door, preparing to throw things if necessary, with a window being too small for an escape. 3 gunshot victims were taken by ambulance to Iowa Methodist Medical Center in Des Moines. A spokesperson for its health system said some other students were transported to a second hospital in Des Moines, and a spokesperson in Mercy One Des Moines Medical Center confirmed, declining to comment on the number of patients or their statuses. Vigils were planned on Thursday evening at a park and a local church. A post in the high school's Facebook page said it would be closed Friday, with counseling services planned at the public library Friday and Saturday. In Washington, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland was briefed on the shooting, and FBI agents from Omaha, Des Moines office are assisting with the investigation led by Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation. The shooting occurred in the backdrop of Iowa's first in the nation presidential caucuses. The GOP Vivek Ramaswamy had a campaign event scheduled in Perry at 9 a.m., about 1.5 miles and 2.4 kilometers from the high school, but canceled it and to have a prayer and intimate discussion with area residents. Mass shootings across the U.S. have long brought calls for stricter gun laws from gun safety advocates, and Thursdays did within hours. But that idea has been a non-starter for many Republicans, particularly in rural GOP leaning states like Iowa. Ramaswamy said the shooting was a sign of psychological sickness in the country. In Des Moines, Iowa, GOP rival Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said that gun violence is more of a local and state issue. In an interview with Xander Shelley, age 15, was in the hallway when he heard gunshots and dashed into a classroom. According to his father, Kevin Shelley, Xander was grazed twice and hid in a classroom before texting his father at 7:36 a.m. Kevin Shelley, who drives a garbage truck, told his boss he had to run. It was the most scared I've been in my entire life, he said. Rachel Carriz, an 18-year-old senior, was wrapping up jazz band practice when she and her bandmates heard that what she could describe as 4 gunshots spaced apart. We all just jumped, Carriz said. My band teacher looked at us and yelled, "Run," so we ran. Carriz and many other students from the school ran out past the football field as she heard people yelling, "Get out, get out." She said she heard additional shots as she ran, but didn't know how many. She was more concerned about getting home to her 3-year-old son. At the moment, I didn't care about anything except getting out because I had to get home to my son, she said. Erica Yolif said that her daughter, a 9th grader, reported getting rushed from the school grounds at 7:45 a.m. distraught. Yolif was still looking for her son Amir, a 6th grader, 1 hour later. I just want to know that he's safe and okay, Yolif said. They won't tell me anything. Or they won't tell me nothing. The Des Moines Register said, the Des Moines Register and NBC News. So, the Iowa school shooter who killed a 6th grader and wounded several others appeared to tell online friends on a messaging app that he was effing nervous and gearing up moments before gunfire erupted inside Perry High School last Thursday. Dylan Butler, 17, appeared to be active on the online chat platform Discord just minutes before Thursday's attack. The teen gunman is suspected of sending out a series of messages under the account Took Too Much, which was also once reportedly part of a group chat dedicated to school shootings. Wow. Butler, in one of the messages believed to be from his account, told online friends that he was at the school and ready for what's to come, according to screenshots reviewed by NBC News. 10 minutes after the message, he reportedly wrote, "I'm effing nervous. I'm in the bathroom gearing up." 2 minutes following that, he complained, saying there's an N-word. I really hate that word. But he said, "There is an N-word in the bathroom. I need him to leave so I can assemble my guns." Discord has a zero tolerance policy against content that glorifies violence and violent extremism, which is reflected in our community guidelines. The user Took Too Much was also in a previous chat room that discussed school shootings, dubbed School Massacres Discussion. A Discord user that saw that screen name in the chat told NBC. So a lot of this does come from NBC News. The Discord user was not identified and contacted the FBI over the chat room in October, and while the FBI agent replied seeking more information, the user heard back from after sending the agent screenshots of the chat, per NBC. So when I read this article and started typing all this up, the guy took a selfie in the stall. This kid took a selfie before he went out and shot people in this school. To be in that type of mental state is something that I will never understand, and I hope to God that I never will. But this child, he is a child. I don't care. He's 17 years old. I know he's a teenager. He's almost an adult, or he was. But the fact is that he was mentally disturbed in order to do this, and that's something that people in the mental health field need to learn how to stop before it happens. And that is something that I truly want to learn how to do, because I work in the mental health field. I have stopped I've stopped suicides before, and I don't even want to say that to puff myself up. That's real. That's real fucking shit right there. And the fact that there are still kids out there, I mean, I don't think there's anything, as far as I know, besides therapy for kids to actually learn how to deal with their intrusive thoughts and mental state. Like, I don't think there's really anything for kids specifically in order to deal with what's going on with their minds. And that's something that terrifies me, because I have 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds come into my center and say that, they have thoughts of hurting themselves or being violent, and they want to know how to stop it. I mean, the place that I work at, we only hold them for a week. We only are able to, give them respite for a week in order to help them, learn how to tackle their goals and everything like that. But what happens after they leave? That's what scares me. Sometimes I just feel like there should be something in order for kids to be in, so that they can respond in a positive way instead of going out and hurting people like this. Kids feel a whole lot more than adults do. That I will say that right now. They go through a lot more mentally than we give them credit for. And to be honest, I'm not here to sympathize with the shooter. I'm not here to sympathize with the murderer. I'm saying, in order for him to get to that point, something must have happened to him. Murderers just don't get born. They're made. The user noted the info sent to the FBI did not bring up Butler's suspected account, but and the chat room was closed before the shooting. All of Butler's social media has been wiped in order for investigation to keep going and what his motive was. But to be honest, he did use the N-word, which I hate that word. So I must suspect that it was racially fueled, or at least part of it was. The FBI declined to comment to NBC News. Butler was described as quiet, but someone who was bullied since he was in elementary school. After he shot himself, his body was found next to a not yet detonated makeshift explosive device. Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna need a moment. I'm just real pissed. I'm just real pissed at just reading this. So I am quickly interchanging the next story to another, because I said that I wasn't going to cover Gypsy Rose, but apparently in this packet that I typed out, I did. So, but I really don't want to give any Gypsy Rose content. I just don't. So we're going to go ahead and get another story. Anyway, I actually saw this on Instagram, and I really had to go ahead and find out what this was, because when I saw it the other day, I was like, what on earth? Like, just a house in Virginia just blew up. Apparently it was under investigation. Like, this house was getting I don't want to say raided, but the house, people, I don't know, let's just go ahead, I don't know nothing. Arlington County, Virginia, a Virginia house exploded while officers were trying to execute a search warrant. There we go, that's what it was. On Monday afternoon, police told ABC News. Police said it happened in Arlington County about 4:45 p.m. Officers responded to a home in the 800 block of North Burlington Street for a report of possible shots heard. Preliminary information indicated that a suspect had discharged a flare gun from his home, police said. That discharge did not cause any damage or injuries. Officers then obtained a search warrant for the suspect's home and tried to execute it. Police said at the same time the suspect discharged several rounds inside the residence. That's when an explosion happened while the suspect was still inside. Police said officers on the scene suffered minor injuries, and none of them were hospitalized. What happened to the suspect is unclear. The investigation is ongoing, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives is on the scene assisting with this investigation. Okay, so this is fresh news. I saw the video of this house just blowing up in flames, and I'm just like, I need to talk about that. I don't want to talk about Gypsy Rose right now. I want to talk about why on earth this house exploded. So there you go. It's an ongoing thing, and once I find out more news about why this man decided to fire off rounds and stuff before he, I don't know if it was intentional or not, to blow himself up, but this is interesting. I need to learn this. Why do people do what they do? I don't understand. But the next, we're gonna be talking about in the next one the Miami aliens. So, yeah. Okay, here's the fun part for me, because I'm a conspiracy theorist and I love conspiracies. So, I'm tired, and it's still snowing. It's gross out. God. Over 100 cop cars were called into the Miami Bayside marketplace on the suspicion of teens lighting fireworks and getting into a fight. Black Ops helicopters swarmed the air, and the streets were lit up with red and blue flashing lights of more than 100 cop cars that came to control the scene. Many rumors have come out that the incident had nothing to do with teens misbehaving and lighting up fireworks and getting into a fight. There are very few pictures and videos where there are very tall creatures being spotted on camera. Because of the little news coverage on this alleged claim, I'm going off of what I've heard and what I've learned from this recent incident. There are some fake videos now of like CCTV footage of like 10-foot aliens walking around and big balls of light exploding inside the mall and stuff like that. I don't know if that's actually real, but listen, I'm just going off my own like common sense. Why do you need 100 or so cop cars to infiltrate the whole thing, like the whole marketplace of Miami, alright? In order to control a few teens that are just being stupid. Can you make it make sense? I honestly don't believe it, and I believe that there are creatures out there that are, other than, human, that walk around and they just know how to hide. I believe in aliens, I believe in the Nephilim, I believe in other creatures that roam the earth. We're just too negligent to look. But anyway, One man who lives in Miami told a first-hand account on how him and his girlfriend were at the food court, and when he heard a commotion, and then he saw the people at the mall fleeing the scene. Him and his girlfriend didn't have any idea what was going on, but he did catch a glimpse of what was described as a tall, shadowy figure, and you could still see through it, but it was solid at the same time. After he had gotten himself and his girlfriend out of the mall safely. So yeah. There are limited social media, there is limited social media being released, and all evidence of what really happened has been wiped from the internet, aside from a chosen few that are still circulating the internet. Some videos depict a white reflective figure that looks like it has wings that pass by the headlights of the cop cars. One picture depicts a rather fuzzy picture of what looks like a disfigured humanoid figure walking the streets. A source, Clark Payne from The Secrets Within CP, that's his Instagram, The Secrets Within CP, Secrets Within Clark Payne, let me turn the page. Received a video of a creature on all fours, webbed limbs, and long lizard-like tail crossing the street in Miami. I believe that there are otherworldly explanations along with realistic ones, and whatever you choose to believe about this story is up to you. I personally believe that anything can happen and anything can exist, and the possibility that we are not alone is something that I have always considered. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you in the trenches next time.